Vielen Dank. Sehr geehrte Kolleginnen und Kollegen, vor etwa einem Jahr wurde die EU-Globalstrategie angenommen. Sie ist Auftakt für einen bislang beispiellosen Ausbau der europäischen Militärstrukturen. Wichtige Interessen sind darin ein offenes und faires Wirtschaftssystem und der Zugang zu Ressourcen. Um hierfür künftig buchstäblich gerüstet zu sein, fordert die EU-Globalstrategie gleichzeitig den Aufbau militärischer Spitzenfähigkeiten. Und genau damit wird nun massiv begonnen. Meine Damen und Herren, auch wenn permanent das Gegenteil behauptet wird, die große Mehrheit der Bevölkerung möchte diese Militarisierung nicht. Was die Menschen wollen, ist eine friedliche, demokratische und soziale Europäische Union. Heute mehr denn je. Und was tun sie? Genau das Gegenteil. Einige Beispiele. Im Rahmen der sogenannten ständigen strukturierten Zusammenarbeit sollen wichtige Teile der EU-Außen- und Sicherheitspolitik in die Hände einiger weniger Staaten gelegt werden. Wie mag das wirken auf die in vielen Ländern schon jetzt vorhandene EU-Skepsis? Als ein Ziel des Friedensprojektes EU soll kein Land je wieder die Vorherrschaft in Europa haben. Ja, wie sehr will man eigentlich die Realität noch verleugnen? Mehr und mehr sagen die großen und reicheren Länder, allen voran Deutschland, den anderen, wo es langgehen soll, wirtschaftlich und militärisch. Das ist schlimm, das ist gefährlich. Nächstes Beispiel. Seit Juni existiert das neue EU-Hauptquartier. Es soll erklärtermaßen künftig Militäreinsätze vereinfachen, verschnellern. Das ist aber nicht, was die Bürgerinnen und Bürger wollen. In Deutschland etwa will über 80% der Bevölkerung weniger, nicht mehr Militäreinsätze. Ja, für viele sind all die westlichen Militärinterventionen der letzten Jahre ein Teil des Problems und nicht der Lösung. Ja, auch Sie, Frau Mogherini, sagen immer, die Menschen wollen Sicherheit. Sie wollen Sicherheit von der EU. Na klar, wer will denn keine Sicherheit? Aber mehr Waffen und mehr Militär bringen nicht mehr Sicherheit. Hier geht es doch hauptsächlich um den Zugang zu Rohstoffen. Und ganz nebenbei, Sicherheit bedeutet für die Mehrheit der Menschen eben auch soziale Sicherheit. Und da hat die EU leider nicht viel zu bieten, schon gar nicht für die Menschen in Südeuropa. Deshalb wollen die meisten angesichts der sozialen Schieflagen auch nicht mehr Geld für Rüstung ausgeben. Geld, das woanders viel dringender gebraucht wird. Doch nein, es wird zielsicher in die andere Richtung gegangen. Erstmals soll nun im nächsten EU-Haushalt ein Rüstungshaushalt, Verteidigungsfonds genannt, mit insgesamt 38,5 Milliarden Euro eingerichtet werden. Und das, obwohl die EU-Verträge es verbieten, Ausgaben für die Militärpolitik dem EU-Haushalt zu entnehmen. Es steht im Absatz zur GSVP. Doch nach der Devise, was nicht passt, wird passend gemacht, soll das Verbot umgangen werden, wird einfach ein anderes Kapitel für die Rüstungsgelder genommen. Nicht mehr im Kapitel zur GSVP, sondern flugs mal umplatziert in die Wettbewerbsförderung. Also da kann einem wirklich der Glaube an das Recht verloren gehen. Sehr geehrte Kolleginnen und Kollegen, noch einmal. Die Bürgerinnen und Bürger wollen ein demokratisches, friedliches und soziales Europa. Handeln Sie endlich danach, handeln wir endlich danach und verlassen den Kriegspfad, auf dem sich die EU derzeit befindet. Vielen Dank.
Fontos témáról van szó, az Unió külügyi és biztonságpolitikai főképviselőjének, Mogherini asszonynak a nyilatkozata következik a témáról. Parancsoljon!
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the rapporteur rightly pointed out, work to strengthen the European Union in the security and defence field started with the presentation of the global strategy in the Council exactly 1 year ago. By the way, this is why I'm sitting for the first time in this 2.5 years on this side of the hemicycle, because it is clear in our treaties and it is clear in the work we've done that the work on EU security and defence lies in the hands of the Council competences. We have started last year a strong work, unanimous work, still at 28, to respond to the need of security of our citizens with a very sustained work. Let me say that, first of all, security and European approach to security is a priority for all European citizens, no matter in which country, east, west, north, south, no matter what kind of political background our citizens have. The European defence and security is mentioned as a top priority for all Eurobarometer surveys that have been conducted in the last year or so. And second, because we realise that we have to make full use of the instruments that the Lisbon Treaty gives to the European Union. This is an issue where the Parliament has always been very strong, demanding for the full use of all the instruments we have. I remember very well in the hearing I had in AFET at the beginning of my mandate, that was a point very strongly made. So it is not something that was started as a reaction to some external factors, or semi-external factors like the British referendum, but there were some accelerating elements, or I would say factors that intensified the political will to make of security and defence in the European Union one of the fields where the Council wants to relaunch the European Union integration process. And this is why in Rome, during the celebrations for the 60th anniversary of our treaty, this field was indicated clearly as one of the priority fields for the relaunch of the European Union. Clearly not the only one, and here comes the picture in which we do our work on security and defence. Because I want to clarify, first, our work is not leading to a militarisation of the European Union. This is not leading to a European Union army. If there is anyone in the world that knows the power of soft power, the need to combine different instruments, the need to have an integrated approach in responding to crises and conflicts, in using all different tools, from the diplomatic to the humanitarian, the development, the economic, the cultural one, well, this is the European Union. There is a genuine European way to security and defence. It is made of civilian and military means together, hard and soft power together, cooperation with our partners, and also strategic autonomy. And let me say that in particular in these times, if we want to be able and free to do security our own way, our own European way, we need to strengthen our own capabilities and capacity to act also as a security provider for our citizens and also for our partners in the world. So the European Union not only is, but will stay, the most relevant donor of humanitarian and development aid, and that is going to remain. We're going to stay the main pillar of the multilateral system based on the UN agencies, on the UN values and principles, and also on the approach that preventing a conflict is always better than dealing with it militarily. We know very well there is no single crisis or threat in the world that can be dealt with a purely military approach. This is the European way to security, and I want there to be no doubt about the fact that this approach is not changing. But at the same time, we can and we must do better and more efficiently on defence and security in the narrow sense of the word. And I often say security for us is also development cooperation, it's also climate change action, it's also investment in peacekeeping and so on. Having said that, we have a responsibility to use the instruments we have also when it comes to security and defence in the narrow sense. This work has been taken forward in, as I said, the follow-up of the EU Global Strategy since last summer. It includes the work done by the Commission, on which Jyrki Katainen and Elisabetta Bieńkowska will share with you more details, and includes work that has been taken forward in full cooperation with NATO, in line with the joint declaration signed at the NATO Warsaw Summit last July. And I also want to be very clear on this, that the work we're doing to strengthen the European defence is also a matter of strengthening NATO and is beneficial for both. I just reported last week with Jens Stoltenberg on our 42 joint actions that we did, European Union and NATO together, being different in nature, organisation, but contributing both to European security. So let me also recall that the decision on defence budgets, the spending more on defence, is not a matter for the European institutions. It's a matter for national governments and national parliaments. So if the debate here wants to be a matter of how much do we spend, this is not for here. This is a national competence. The all 2% debate is for member states that are also allied in NATO. It's not for the European Union to tackle this. But regardless of how much member states decide to spend, what the European Union can and must do is to help them spend better, more efficiently, meaning spending together. I always quote two numbers. The Europeans invest in defence 50% of what Americans do, but the output of the European investments in defence is 15%. So there is an investment gap. This is not for us to tackle. It's a national sovereign choice, but the output gap, how efficient the investment is in the output, this is something where the European Union can help. So it's not about militarizing, it's about rationalizing. It's about the efficiency of the investments. How we can use our resources with economies of scale. That is the point. And also how we can use the instruments of acting together as a union in the world. I will mention a few concrete steps that have been either already taken or ongoing, with decisions already taken in the Council, either the Foreign Affairs Council or the European Council recently, with the support of the ES and the European Defence Agency. Because you often think I have two hats, I actually have three hats, because I also had the European Defence Agency, and in this case, the agency is proving its added value. First, we will enhance the coordination of national defence plans through the new coordinated annual review on defence. A trial run of the review will be carried out already this autumn. Second, we will launch an inclusive and ambitious permanent structured cooperation. This is based on more binding commitments between member states to jointly develop and deploy military capabilities, and the European Council a few weeks ago agreed that a common list of criteria and binding commitments will be drawn up within 3 months. This should pave the way for notifications to the Council to start the formal process of establishing a permanent structured cooperation, and I am confident that this process can be done before the December European Council if member states are coherent with their commitment to proceed in this way. Third, the Commission, and here I will not enter in the work that we've done with Jyrki and Elisabetta, has set up proposals for a European Defence Fund with, by the way, an excellent interinstitutional cooperation and coordination that I think is exemplary also for other fields of action. And that will continue, I think, in the months to come. The ideal would be to have PESCO projects financed by the European Defence Fund. Four, work has been launched to make the battle groups, 10 years exactly ago launched and established, fully deployment. We never deployed them. This will be addressed during the review of the Athena mechanism in the second half of this year. Fifth, we have established the first ever command centre in Brussels for the operational planning and conduct of military training and advisory missions. This capability is already providing support and guidance to our training missions in Mali, Somalia and the Central African Republic, and it is working closely with our civilian command centre to strengthen the synergies between our missions. Sixth and final, we are also working to improve our civilian crisis management to make it more responsive and make sure it has all the capabilities it needs. All of these 6 measures are either already taken or underway with a speed that is quite remarkable, a few months of work and a unity. All these decisions have been taken unanimously at 28 in the Council with a great sense, I think, of unity and responsibility. Let me add that the work on the future of the European defence should not make us underestimate the current work of the European defence. We have today men and women in EU uniform serving under the EU flag, already contributing to the security of our citizens and our own region. Just last month, a Portuguese sergeant who served in our training mission in Mali was killed in the terrorist attack in Bamako. We should honour the men and women that are serving peace under the EU flag. Our EU men and women are supporting our African partners in the work for peace and security in extremely challenging environments. Our training missions are supporting the local security forces as they fight against terrorism or against criminal networks. This is the European way. We are a cooperative power, a multilateral power, always believing in an integrated approach, always believing in prevention. We are a force for peace and human development. This is how and what we are, and this is how and what we will continue to be, with more instruments to serve this way of working on security. We are, even more so, a security provider for our citizens and for our partners. And this is how we use our military, at the service of peace, at the service of the UN Charter, at the service of multilateralism. And developing the EU strategic autonomy to do so is today even more important than it was in all the previous decades. A stronger European Union in the field of security and defence is good for Europeans and it's good for the rest of the world. Thank you.
Köszönöm a bizottság alelnöke helyett az Unió főképviselőjének a nyilatkozatát, és az Unió alelnökét fogom szólítani, Katainen alelnök urat, parancsoljon.
Madam Speaker, honourable members, my dear colleague Elzbieta and High Representative Vice President Mogherini, it's a pleasure to be here to discuss about the future of European defence and security. We have had an excellent teamwork in the Commission and between how should I call you, High Representative Vice President. So the Member States and Commission has worked together in order to identify possible tools to deploy for defending our values. And this discussion here in the European Parliament is as important because we have to identify the strong political will to which direction and how deep we want to go in order to protect our values. Actually, the rapporteur said it rightly. Peaceful, social and democratic EU is our people's core values. They are not only core values here in Europe, but they are the same values what we represent outside Europe. And that's why we need capability to defend our core values inside Europe, but also outside Europe. And this is the reason why we are talking about the future of security and defence today. High Representative Vice President already mentioned a few concrete political issues like finding solution to battle group financing. This would be a significant improvement in our capability to defend our values. Also, NATO-EU declaration, it's not only a political declaration, but also a very concrete action plan how the two organizations can work together in order to get better output, as Vice President High Representative mentioned. I do encourage Member States and European Parliament to be active developing deeper security and defence cooperation. PESCO offers an excellent opportunity for this. And generally speaking, our treaties allow Member States to do basically whatever they want. One important and necessary opportunity would be to create European cyber and hybrid defence capability. But everything depends on the political will. Political will of this House and political will of Member States. Honourable members, let us be clear, it is not a Commission's power grab. It is a matter of timing and the level of ambition on Member States' side. And equally important, NATO will remain a provider of security in Europe that a stronger Europe will reinforce. Our proposals are complementary to NATO. 2 weeks ago, the Commission adopted its reflection paper on the future of European defence, a communication on the European Defence Fund and a proposal for European Defence Industrial Development Programme. With the reflection paper, we have launched a debate on what role the EU will have in the future in this very important area. We have proposed 3 scenarios, which range from a security and defence cooperation scenario, under which Member States would still decide on the need for security and defence cooperation on voluntary and case-by-case basis, to a much more ambitious common defence and security scenario, which foresees the progressive framing of a common union defence policy, leading to common defence. While 3 scenarios differ in the level of ambition, they all present a step in the same direction, strengthening European defence. Now we need an honest debate on the kind of future we see for Europe in defence policy. Therefore, the debate today in the European Parliament is very welcome. When looking at the economic side of defence cooperation, we do everything 28 times, or in the future 27 times. So the problem is that we duplicate everything so many times. The duplication problem with NATO is not a relevant problem because nobody wants to do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, the duplication has also a price tag. The lack of cooperation in defence and security between member states are estimated to cost annually between 25 billion to 100 billion euros. This is not an efficient way to use our resources. As important as amount of money is how to use it. We must do it effectively and efficiently to ensure the best security the taxpayers deserve. For this reason, we have created the European Defence Fund, which has 3 different angles. The first angle is defence research funding. Research organisations can apply together for funding of collaborative research projects from the EU budget. We want to change the way defence research is done in Europe, pooling together both human and material resources. We have allocated this year 25 million, and with your support we will allocate next year 40 million and 25 million in 2019. Altogether 90 million euros in 3 years. The second angle is the support for joint development of capabilities, using EU budget to incentivise joint development of prototypes. To qualify for support under the European Defence Industrial Development Programme, there must be at least 3 companies from a minimum of 2 countries, which can apply to build joint prototypes, for example in drone or satellite projects. For 2019-2020, we have reallocated resources from EU budget worth 500 million euros for these purposes. Our proposal is that for the next MFF period, the EU budget funding would be 1 billion euros per year. With support of member states, co-financing the programme could generate a total investment of 5 billion euros per year. This will be a game changer in terms of strengthening defence research and industrial capabilities. And it makes our public spending more effective. Importantly, the fund is not only for big countries and big projects, but also for small countries and for smaller companies in defence value chain. We want to make sure that everybody can participate. Finally, the Defence Fund is meant to help member states to do joint acquisitions of capabilities. Instead of buying capabilities separately, member states could do it jointly using different types of financial models. And these can range from pooling to debt financing and can help overcome challenges of different budget cycles and reduce the cost for individual member states. So, honourable members, this is one of the biggest challenges for our future. We have to make sure that we can protect our values inside Europe, but also externally.
Köszönöm, alelnök úr, a bizottság nevében